All right, everybody, let's take a seat and we'll get this party started. All right, welcome everybody. My name is Barrett Takesian. I'm the executive director at Portland Community Squash. I was there in the early days when we were working with middle school students in the basement of the YMCA 10 years ago. And many of our original staff are with us as well. So we have Sarah Stickney, our operations director, in the room. Lucas Bruns, our development director. Mirgani Alari helped organize tonight's event. He's our event director here at PCS. And a few board members as well, Brooke Teller, Harvey Klugman, Beth Lowenstein's on Zoom, and also our builder from Right Ryan, Luke Dion's in the room as well. So thanks to all of our staff and our neighbors. We're also recording this Zoom so we can share it with others that have questions. I thought it would be a good chance to just give a little background about how we got to where we are today. Go into the plans for the expansion, and then 20 minutes or so for Q&A at the end. And then the last 20 minutes will be just unstructured. We can mingle a little bit less formally. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to just show the Portland Community Squash commercial, if you will, to get us started today. This model, this community center model that we've been pioneering here at 66 Noyes Street is now being replicated all over the country. So there's 13 community centers built on the same framework around the United States in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, San Diego, Atlanta, and elsewhere. What you're going to see is squash specific, but the really important thing to us is that there's just more inclusive, vibrant hubs using the sports and arts all around our community. So Portland Community Squash also has a role in sharing the out of school time network for the city, and there's 67 arts and sports-based organizations hidden around the city that are working with youth and their families to create community and opportunities for everybody. But this is our squash commercial, if you will. We teamed up with US Squash 10 years ago. The game was growing all over the country, but we needed a new story to tell in the emerging markets. What about us? What about, where's the game really gonna grow? Hey!
Blah, 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 blah. Stop talking and show them already.
Okay, let's do this. It all started here with a simple idea. Courts in the neighborhood for the neighborhood. US Squash gave us the space we needed to play squash, have fun, and get to know each other. And people came, a whole lot of people. Soon neighbors became players, players became volunteers, and volunteers became coaches. And that's when we realized, whew, we're gonna need more courts. So, we built more, 4 more, and it didn't stop there. Hey guys, now we're a multicultural, multi-generational community center delivering squash and wraparound services. Take it easy on them, coach.
Not a chance. Rack it up.
In the first 4 years, Access grew our membership to 717 members.
719.
Yes. After the courts filled up, equity inspired our investments in education and wellness. Sorry. And through long-term relationships and community conversations, integration unified people across lines of difference. And we did it together.
Yeah, we did.
Now US Squash is taking the community squash model nationwide.
All the way to here, the Specter Center, the largest community squash center in the world. And it's
Amazing!
If you have a neighbor and you have a court, you have what it takes to get started. Learn more about US Squash and community affiliates all over the country, because what happened here can happen anywhere. Yeah.
All right, so that's just a little background. And I have to say, community work and running the community center, I did think that this was going to be a career for all of us on staff here. I thought it was going to be the only thing the robots wouldn't take away from us. And then the pandemic hit, and then community centers became the most dangerous career you could be in. So we really wanted to make lemons out of lemonade, and we used the last 3 years to look at our model and our theory of change about how we were going to impact the community. And we also thought about the long-term vision of this site at Noy Street as well. So I'm going to start a little bit with the vision quickly, just so you can understand why we are here. There's 3 pillars that really define our work. The first is access. This just means that all of our programs provide transportation, financial aid, and inclusive marketing so that we can make sure that the people that walk through our front door are representative of our city. The second milestone that we're working towards is equity, which is just understanding that families, in order to stay here, need to feel supported, like they have the skills and relationships needed to thrive within this community and see the upside for their busy schedules. And then the last milestone we call cohesion. This is when people get to know each other over a long time horizon. You see relationships form across lines of difference. Some of the research we've looked at says it takes 20 hours to form trust, 60 hours for a friendship, 200 hours for a lifelong friendship. So a lot of the programming that we're doing here is trying to get people past that 200-hour threshold together. Now, to get from access to equity, in order to get people to stay here, we have what's called the guided phase. And these are programs where staff are working directly with participants in the community. So we have an after-school program called Rally Portland. It's academics, wellness, squash, travel for 6th to 12th grade students. We've been running that program for 10 years. The second program is called the Farm Team. This is 3 years old to 10 years old. It's once a week clinics, really simple, cute. Summer camps, we do 5 weeks of summer camp here, and we also place kids at different summer camps around Maine. We have a mentor program, so any student or new community member can get a staff member or another community member through our mentor program. And then last, we have family squash, which is just clinics and meals for families at the end of the day to bring the adult community into our community as well. So those guided programs lead to what we've defined as 3 preconditions to our equity milestone. The first is that we want every family to see pathways to opportunity here at PCS for them, whether that's going to be the student's first job or their post-secondary credential. The second, we want to get families started with their relationships here, not just multicultural, but multi-generational relationships. And then last, we want to make sure that our students have the skills and comfort to take care of their own physical and mental health. So, you know, familiarity with the sport and our dance classes and yoga and being able to use the fitness equipment. And the same is true for the adults and their families as well. Once they reach the equity milestone, that's when PCS is starting to really unlock our potential through what we call the self-guided programs. And there's 5 additional programs. And frankly, this is the area that PCS started to lean into during COVID because we couldn't bring 60 students together at the same time. We had to empower each family with a membership so that they could come in and use the building on their own time. And so those self-guided programs look like events. We have 3 social events this week. We had a film screening last night. We have our community meeting tonight, and we have the squash ball this weekend, which you're all invited to. Second, you know, our fitness offerings, yoga, fitness equipment, etc., squash, of course. And we also have a leadership program. This is the opportunity to volunteer and give back to students and families that are in the guided phase. And then lastly, this kind of cafe co-working amenity that we currently provide meals here to our students, but we're going to have a more robust cafe element to our programming, and we're really excited about it. Those self-guided programs have the same preconditions, but instead of us teaching pathways to opportunity, we are giving students and families the space to pursue and manufacture their own opportunities within the community. Instead of us introducing people, people are able to form their own relationships here in the community. And rather than us teaching how to take care of your well-being, the self-guided programs are about just taking care of your own. The great thing about this model, and this model is really what's driving the growth of the sport, and also this community center model. Guided programs, a lot of programs around the country and youth development programs live in this space, but it costs us about $4,000 per year per participant. 30% of our adults receive financial aid here, 70% of our youth receive financial aid. Guided programs are a huge investment, and rather than the traditional model that originally inspired us would keep students in guided programs for 7 to 10 years. So that's, you know, a $50,000 to $70,000 investment per participant. Self-guided programs are about 1/10 the price. And if you look at a lot of the research, like self-determination theory, yes, they're cheaper, but actually students get a lot more when they feel competent, connected, but also autonomous, where they're making decisions about their time and their goals. So that's just a little bit of a background about how our model works. And the neat thing is it's not always me drawing on a whiteboard. We have this framework here, and this is available on our website. You can click on any of our programs. You can see the academic theory behind that part of our model. You can also see what our season was, our target was the prior 6 months, and where we came in. So this model is a heat map. It actually shows where we're below target, above target, approaching target across the entire organization. And the neat thing too is that it also works at the individual level. So we can actually see how our students are going through the interventions, which milestones they're passing every step of the way. So, you know, we might just look like a squash club from the outside, but I thought it would just be helpful for you to understand the machine that's driving all of our decisions as a staff. And when money comes into this organization, we're not just looking at upgrading our lockers, we're looking at making targeted investments in this theory of change so that we have more people that feel connected, empowered, and happy living in the city. Part of this is improving our self-guided programs. And in order to do that, we realized quickly that we're going to need some more space. These are the 4 most utilized squash courts in America. As part of this expansion, we brought all of our stakeholders together in 2020. We spent a year having town hall meetings. We brought in an architect to, you know, translate a lot of that community feedback into plans. So this is also on our website, but if you're ever interested, the whole design process is up here. All the documentation was, you know, publicly available every step of the way. And we had one of our hardworking interns last summer distill a year of workshops into a 25-minute video. So if you're ever interested in that, I don't want you to waste a year of your life, but 25 minutes might be worth it. And then without further ado, I think we get right into the plans. Sorry, spoiler alert. So this is our timeline. Like I said, the kind of visioning took place in 2020. In 2021, we won a pro bono contract with Perkins and Will, which is one of the largest architects in the world. They're doing Maine Med, and they wanted to do a community-based organization project as well. So we've been engaged with them. We also engaged with Wright Ryan day one because we wanted a local construction manager that knew the local subs and we're going to be pricing this project in real time. We didn't want a big architect in Boston coming up with a design that wasn't buildable. And so we've had subs looking at this from day one. We have a great team of consultants, and we have a really high-powered architect. on this. I looked at the spec book and it was like 900 pages. So 1,000 pages. Yeah, exactly. So last year we went into what was called schematic design. That was starting to hone the concept into a more tangible vision, then design development. Then we were talking about materiality. Is it, you know, metal? Is it glass? And then finally, once those design elements have been determined, we went into construction documents. And that's where a 1,000-page instruction manual was conducted. The last couple steps here, we've raised $4 million for a $6 million project. We also have a commitment letter from a local bank that's going to be doing the last $2 million of financing for us. And that'll give us time to continue to raise funds, hopefully getting back to a debt-free position so that we can continue to offer the amount of financial aid that we have been. And then finally, we need the planning board to approve a conditional use expansion because we're in a residential neighborhood and we are one of the conditional uses of the neighborhood, which is either a community center or a house of worship. We fall under that community center, community hall definition to be technical. And then we also are going through a minor site plan review with zoning that makes sure that we have the right fire code. For instance, we're going above 15,000 square feet, so we need to sprinkle the whole building. There's energy code considerations. So there's two major reviews happening at the city level, and a neighborhood meeting is an optional element of that, but any chance we have to educate you all about what we're trying to do is advantageous to us. So we really appreciate you all being here. There's two additions happening to our building. The first is the living room, if you will. This is called the community commons. It'll be soft seating, a fireplace, a cafe. And then the second addition is on the east side of the building, we're going to have 3 additional squash courts and a new gym. So let's get into it, and I'll talk about the various elements as we go. So the two major new addition pieces is this cafe, which is currently in the front yard, and then where our current parking lot is, these 3 courts. Now, there's also some interior renovations. Systems are being upgraded, new roofs. We're switching to a 600 amp electrical system. We're putting more toilets in the women's locker room. We have a commercial kitchen being built out where our existing little kitchenette was. 2 new gender neutral bathrooms with a shower in one of them. And then a new gym and a new laundry and storage facility. So there's just, you know, some small pieces, some big pieces to this project. This is our, hey, Michael, this is our existing condition from the facade. And the 2 new additions as shown here without any landscaping. This is the commons in the front. And then this is the squash court addition on the east side of the building. So obviously a lot of civil work, a lot of landscaping just to freshen up. You know, we're very fortunate to be in this incredible building. The Shari Tefillah congregation goes back to the late 1800s. They built this building in 1955. It's a really unique piece of mid-century architecture. And the wing that we're in currently used to be a day school. And now Shari Tefillah is practicing with Temple Bethel over on Deering Ave. And the students that are in the Levy Day School were actually here for recess today. So we you know, from strength to strength was our mantra in 2016. And we have a lot of the members of the congregation are now members here now. So it's really come full circle. And as we go into this next chapter, we're actually executing a vision that the synagogue had in 1962. They wanted to do these same 2 additions, although they were going to build a library on the other side of this room right here on the west side, and they were going to build another sanctuary on the east side of the building. I'd have to talk to someone that's been in that congregation for a long time to know exactly what happened. But we're really hoping to refresh this building, upgrade a lot of the systems, but also stay true to that beautiful mid-century design. This is the this is the community cafe. As a community hall, we have the ability to serve not the public, but we can serve our constituents and community members. So we'll be offering low price. First of all of our membership is on a sliding scale currently, all the way down to $20 for the year. But we'll also be offering a social membership. If squash isn't your thing, but you're interested in Alari social events and coming in to have coffee and a salad, we'll have social memberships. We have wellness memberships, which include, you know, the yoga classes, the dance classes, the fitness, the events, etc. And then we have our full membership, which is all of our amenities, including squash. But if you're a member, and it's important that we know who's in the building, so everyone needs to check in at the front desk. We have kids filling this building. We have about 200 students from 3rd grade to 12th grade in our community here. So from a safety perspective, we need to know who's in the building, but you come, you check in, you can bring guests with you. You can have, you know, a cup of coffee in the cafe. You can sit outside, and hopefully if money is available, we also have aspirations of fixing up some of the side yard amenities as well. But we just want this to be a really inclusive, beautiful hub for you to do a little bit of work. You know, this project started with me, frankly, in a coffee shop, begging people to listen to my slide deck, some of whom are in the room right now. But I feel like the coffee shops aren't there necessarily anymore after COVID. And we really need those third places. And that's what this room's really meant to be. Looking down the chute, this is our front entrance where you all came into the building. And this photo is taken from the yoga studio. So this wall actually will be an operable wall. And so when we want to have larger social events, it can open up. And when we want to have, you know, our dance classes and yoga classes, et cetera, it can close with a opaque, you know, glass sliding wall. We'll have a little gas powered fireplace, some soft seating. We're going to have a nice little community engagement project where, you know, we have 26 countries of origin in our membership currently, 17 different languages. So people are going to bring in some plants and some pots that, you know, bring a little bit of color into the space. So we'll have this living wall here. I think I might just stop for a second before we go to, there's 3 elements we're going to cover. So are there any questions about the Commons or the cafe? Okay. We can do Q&A at the end as well. We do have a little bit of a cardio gym currently in this area. This is going to be the space that divides the existing courts from the new courts. It was actually a stage back in the day where children from the congregation would do little plays during the high holidays, etc. And then currently our student lounge is on the far side of this hall, but it'll get opened up and redone. So we have a nice little weight and cardio area for families to use. Oh, I'm going backwards. This is the exterior to the squash volume. So we'll have 2 squash courts here and a third in the back. We had to be really strategic about exactly what went into this building, these building additions, because in this zone, you can cover 40% of your property. I might as well just talk about a few of the zoning things that have taken place. We're using every available square foot of buildable area. We are not violating any of the setbacks, so we had to work really strategically within the setback parameters. And then lastly, when we bought this building in 2016, this did not exist in the code, but it does now. So a community hall, to be a conforming community hall, you must own an acre of land. And we were at 95% of an acre. So our thought was go to the city, we get a variance, we're right there, no big deal. But it turned out it was going to be a map amendment, and then homes in the neighborhood were going to have to be rezoned. And it turned out to be a non-starter. It was going to kill the project. So we asked the city, is there a way around this? And they said the only solution is to buy an adjacent property. And so Betsy Carter was our neighbor next door. She's been in that house since the 60s. She's a member here at PCS. She was a wellness member. She had a mentee in the youth programs. We had a good relationship, and Betsy had grandkids up in the Hallowell area. So we talked to Betsy about purchasing the house, and we came to some terms that worked for Betsy. And she had a free lease in that house for 2 years. And then at the end of that free lease, she moved up to be closer to her family. And she's still involved. And the that fireplace area in the front of our building is, we're working with Betsy to name it after the family and her late husband. So the building purchase happened about 30 months ago. But before we started this project, that was the first piece that had to happen in order for any of this to go forward. The design here with the squash volume, it's going to be somewhat tucked away. I mean, there's going to be trees along the front of the building, but this view just gives you a little bit of a sense. And then living within that volume is a doubles court. So a doubles court is about twice the size of a normal singles court. It's great for our elementary school programs. We can have 25, 30 elementary school kids playing various games out there. And it's also great if you're aging and you don't want, the knee pain from chasing the ball around the singles court. Doubles is much more of a social game. You play it with a different ball. So that'll be a new challenge for a lot of our community members. And then 2 singles courts. So, the interesting thing about squash itself, and I should speak to it, yes, it makes for a great community center. We've kind of proven that with our track record. But it also, the great thing about bringing it to Portland is when we started this project, we started every meeting with what's squash. The city had no publicly available facilities. There were no regulation squash courts in the city when Portland Community Squash got started 10 years ago. The beautiful thing about that was the sport has been segregated in a ridiculous way in the major cities for a long time. You have these really affluent private clubs, and those private clubs generate revenue and support youth programs for kids across the city. But those two worlds were completely separate. And what we've learned is that social capital is one of the biggest determinants of social mobility. A study at Harvard just found that it's your economic, connectedness in your friend group is a 70% corollary to your social mobility. And so the theory here was, why don't we build something that's really true to Portland? We're a small city. We all live shoulder by shoulder. And so let's bring all of these constituents together to create something that's more financially viable and actually something that's more beneficial for everyone that's involved. And so if you speak with any members here, I think they'll tell you that we're definitely stronger together. So what is squash? We're trying to define it as something new and fresh up here in Portland. We'd love for you to be part of it. And that's the last rendering I had. The lot by Betsy's house, I don't know if you can see it from this volume, right here, Betsy's house has to be, well, I still call it Betsy's house, 62 Noyes Street. There was a chance that we were going to be able to keep the building, but we're not going to be able to because of that 40% lot coverage rule. So the house comes down. We don't technically have to provide parking because we're within a quarter mile of the bus station, but we're going to be able to keep the same number of spots that we currently have where Betsy's house was. But I think what you can expect is just a lot of TLC going into the whole site. We got this building going. We purchased this property for $1 million in 2016, put $500,000 into it, and really bootstrapped it. This room was 2 rooms. I came in with a sledgehammer and took out the wall, and the kids painted it. And one of our members laid the floor down. So that's how we've gotten to where we are today. And this is our first time really working with professionals to give the site the TLC that it deserves. And hopefully this is the 50, 75-year investment that this community center deserves. So that's the end of my presentation, and I'm happy to take questions. I thank you all for being here. Yeah. Yeah, so our guided programs, currently we serve about 100 students per week in guided programs. That number will be closer to 150, 160. And then our self-guided programs, we see about 400 people a week, and that number will be closer to 700 on the other side of it. That's our capacity. But I think more than just more capacity, we really believe in Dunbar's number, which is the number of people that you can have in your social network. It's the difference between the YMCA, a YMCA and a Portland Community Squash. We're about 600 members, whereas the YMCA is more 6,000 to 10,000. And so in order to stay, you know, our goal is to stay a first name basis community, but to enrich the offerings that we have here. Breaking bread together is such a fundamental part of getting to know people. We don't want people just meeting on the squash court or in the classrooms. I think, you know, having more social amenities and more courts, having a little bit more energy in the building is going to allow us to fulfill our mission. Yeah. Carol.
Congratulations. I met you.
Mm-hmm.
So, only the concern I have is the view on the end of the building being so dark.
Mm.
It seems, and I don't know the questions about that, but seems totally.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there any possibility of like that or
Yeah.
some artwork?
Sure, sure. So if the architects were in the room, they would agree with you. They hate this rendering because it comes across so dark, and even the panels on the commons in the front, it's gonna the corrugated paneling that's gonna go in there come in different shades. The shade has not been picked yet, but they're gonna pick something as tasteful as possible. But the neat thing that also doesn't show is that some of those panels are gonna be perforated, and there's gonna be the PCS teal behind them. So as you walk past the panels, they're actually gonna change colors, and as the sun hits it in different ways. So I would just say, yes, let's continue. I'll continue the dialogue on it, but the standard of design coming from these guys is, I think, exactly at the level that you want it to be, and they're not going to put anything out that's not stunning. Tracy? Right.
The living things on it.
Mm-hmm.
Probably help verify.
Yeah.
I think to front of this building has natural wood, and if it's all possible, there's some natural building materials with that metal block. Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
Maybe something that could solve.
I feel like you were in the meetings, Carol, because we actually have an alternative rendering too that has really thin wood slats that go up. There's this 15-foot you know, kind of datum that runs across this roof line, and it picks up the brick, and then it goes, it'll get picked up with the new expansion as well. And it was gonna be kind of a wood that was playing off some wood work that was gonna be in the commons as well. Unfortunately, there's a lot to this project that we wanted in this project that's not in this project because of the reality of the interest rates and the cost of construction. You know, for a community center our size to be raising $6 million for this project is a huge stretch. More than 50% of the money for this project is coming from out of state, only because we've established ourselves as a national leader. So, you know, only to say, I only have to say it once, like there are some cost considerations that have gone into this, but making the most of that space. And there's going to be a really beautiful window too, as you come up the opposite side of the noise. That's, you know, a big part of what you're going to be seeing as well. So I can circle back with you, and I'd love your voice on it. Yeah. Yeah.
Barrett, sorry, I was late.
Yeah.
What's the timetable?
Yeah, really the timetables with the city at this point. We have the financials to get started on this project. Right Ryan's going through their competitive bidding process right now. But we'll have everything ready to go July 1st. And the goal, our summer camps end July 23rd. We moved them forward a little bit this year. So we'll be good to go July 23rd. We need to get a conditional use expanded by the planning board. And then we need to get our minor site plan approval from zoning. So there's 2 more steps with the city. And I don't know if those can happen simultaneously or if we need to get one and then the other, but that's really the last thing to fall. And then it's going to be, our drawdown schedule says 8 months of construction, but I think it's just safe to assume it's going to be a year of construction, one season to the next. And we're going to remain open during that time. Yeah. To the extent possible. There might be some days. Yeah.
And is there anything that you need or would be helpful from the neighborhood community?
Well, we actually did an endorsement campaign last summer, partially to identify people that might not be using the building now, but are interested in some of the new amenities coming online. So if you go, on our website, there's a button that says expansion, and you can see I also shared a little bit about like the mission and the purpose behind this as well, but you can see that, you can see the design process, and you can also endorse the project right there as well. So an endorsement, and then, so much of our work is about social capital, and I was just talking earlier about it takes a certain amount of time to develop these relationships. So finding a way, whether it's as a volunteer or, doing your fitness here, or hopefully having a coffee here, to the extent that you can find a way to be here, that's the best way you can support us. Yeah. Great. So I promised the last 15-20 minutes would be just some casual mingling. So I think I'll say goodbye to Beth on Zoom. Thank you, Beth. And the recording. So I'll upload the recording on YouTube if you want to share it with anybody that's interested. Thank you.